AITA for telling my stepdaughter to stop using period products in the bathroom she shares with my teenage sons. Since moving in with my new wife and stepdaughter around 6 months ago, I've had a great time. She is nearly 20 years old, and I have 3 boys who are 18 years old, 16 years old, and 15 years old. She's a very kind child, and she's a positive influence on my boys, so it's a pleasure to have her in the house. When my wife and her daughter sold their home, they decided to move into my stepdaughter's father is not present in her life, and neither is the mother of my boys. The bathroom is shared by all 4 youngsters. My boys have never shared a home with a woman for an extended length of time, nor have any of them had long-term relationships with women. They had limited visiting times when they were younger, seldom lasting more than an hour, so living with 2 women has been a unique experience for them up to this point. When my eldest son, 18, came to me last week, he told me that his stepsister disposes of her used sanitary products in the trash. Can they share, without using toilet roll or sandwich bags to disguise what they are, and that it makes him uncomfortable, which I think is reasonable, and that it makes him uncomfortable. My sons are teenagers, and they do not want to be exposed to their stepsister's period clothing and accessories. When I walked into the kitchen to have a snack a few evenings ago, she was already there, working on some university assignments. My wife had said that she was aware that she was on her period, so I used this as a chance to speak with her about her feelings. I informed her that my boys were experiencing discomfort and asked if she would mind if I placed her used goods in diaper bags or flushed them down the toilet. That she thought it was funny came from a guy who sheds like a gorilla and has spawned 3 skid-marking boys, which I felt was an unwarranted hit on my character. I've been nothing but courteous to her, and there's really no comparison between the 2 of us. I believe that my boys should not be exposed to her unsanitary items if doing so causes them discomfort. She went on to lecture me about how tampons can't be flushed and how it's terrible for the environment if she uses diaper bags for every one of her children, which I believe is simply an excuse for her behavior. I called her a scruff and informed her that this was my home and that anything I said was final. I subsequently asked my wife if she could speak with her, and she told me that I was being foolish and that her daughter has been on her period for 10 years and is well aware of what she is doing. When I informed her that it was making my boys uncomfortable, she responded by saying that my sons needed to get a hold of themselves and rolled over to sleep. This is a legitimate concern to me, and she didn't seem to care enough about it to engage in a debate about it. I inquired of my stepdaughter again the next morning, and she responded in the same manner as her mother, dismissing the question altogether. Both of my boys have advised me to stop being so ridiculous, but I don't understand how I'm being unreasonable when it causes my sons to feel uneasy or uneasy. 8 update. Within 2 hours of posting this, my wife and stepdaughter collected my 2 boys and me for a full-day intense periods for seminar, complete with PowerPoint presentations and everything. It was a lot of fun, and they even had an interactive quiz as part of it. My boys and I gained a great deal from the experience, and we expressed our regrets to my stepdaughter. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Story 2. AITA for kicking my sister's husband out of my house because of what he did. I, a 34-year-old woman, lost my spouse 8 weeks ago. He had cancer, which was treated, but the disease returned. It was and continues to be terrible, and I'm doing my best to be calm and welcome to all of my supporting family members who come to provide assistance despite my frequent shift in mood due to sadness. I'm grateful for everyone's support. My sister is the most supportive, despite the fact that her husband behaved inappropriately at times, particularly when he informed me after the burial that I was no longer a burden and could enjoy my life, despite the fact that I was my husband's primary caregiver. I attempt to forget about the remarks, reasoning that he didn't know any better. Last week, he, my sister, and the rest of my family arrived to visit. They made supper for me and stayed with me for a short period of time. A minute with me in the kitchen was requested by my brother-in-law after supper was over. He began by relating a story about a colleague who was unmarried at the time, and then proceeded to extol the virtues of this individual. I was perplexed as to why he was providing me all of this information. When he finished, he dug into his pants pocket and brought out a piece of paper with his coworker's phone number written on it, instructing me to contact him whenever I had a free moment. At first, I wasn't sure whether he was serious or just making light of the situation, but he continued demanding that I accept his number. I lost it and just began ranting at him, telling him that my husband had just passed away and that he was out of his mind for trying to set me up with one of his coworkers. He attempted to clarify that it was not like that, and that he was just providing me something beneficial, but I was unable to understand what he was referring to. As soon as I called him rude, he was screamed at to leave my home. My sister and the others rushed into the kitchen, completely unaware of what was going on. I informed them of the situation and then urged him to leave my home. My sister requested that I calm down, but I was unable to do so. He went, and then my sister silently departed as well. Following my calm down, I sat down with my family, who agreed that what he did was wrong, but also pointed out that he and my sister had done so much to support me during these difficult times that I shouldn't have reacted in such a rash manner, and should have been a little more considerate and graceful instead. They told me that pushing him out was too much, and that I should contact him later and sort things out so that I don't lose my friendship with him and potentially my relationship with my sister. Since I haven't phoned or visited my sister, I'm starting to believe she is dissatisfied with me. After all they've done for me, I'm beginning to believe they are wounded because I was ungrateful after everything they've done for me. Story 3. AITA for telling my fiancé I hate the way he proposed. Let me state unequivocally that I am over heels in love with my fiancé and would not have said no under any circumstance. We had already made arrangements to visit him in his hometown for his birthday, so I, a 27-year-old female, decided to give him, a 32-year-old male, a birthday celebration. I spent 3 months planning the location, the meal, the dessert table, the decorations, and the rest of the details. I invited his whole family and circle of friends. Because I was on a tight budget, my fiancé volunteered to cover the cost of the live band. I was just going to get a DJ. Well, he chose to propose during his party, and I wasn't pleased with the way it went down. He had already planned with the band, and he rose to his feet to perform a love song for them. I recognized the perfectly square box in his pocket right away and knew he was going to propose right then and there. I began to feel a sense of terror. I started to feel hot and sweat. I had only met his family/friends a handful of times and was in a room full of people I didn't know. Being the focus of attention makes me feel quite uneasy. My husband proposed, I said yes, and I walked outside to call my family. But in reality, I simply sobbed from the stress of having everyone's attention focused on me. The fact that it was a public suggestion was something I didn't care for. However, I thought it was opportunistic in nature. When it came to preparing the event, I put in all of my time and effort. He did, however, engage a real band, so it's possible that I'm mistaken. Just a quiet time between the two of us would have been preferable in my opinion. It gives me the impression that he doesn't know me well enough. In the end, we were both unhappy by the time he made the proposal. The celebration ran from 8 p.m. until 1 a.m. on Saturday. There was a guest list, and dinner plates were allocated for each and every person on the list. It was a formal affair with a formal dress code. His companions were on time for the event. However, the majority of his relatives did not arrive until about 10:30 a.m. The last of the family members survived till the wee hours of the morning. When 10 o'clock rolled around and the venue was almost completely empty, my fiancé was devastated, and I was outraged that his family would treat him in such a manner. When I told my fiancé how I felt about his proposal for the first time, he remained deafeningly silent. Why are you bringing it up again? What do you want me to do about it? There's nothing I can do about it, were some of his responses when I brought it up again, and he's absolutely correct in his assessment. I don't want to put him in a terrible situation. It makes me feel bad whenever someone inquires about our engagement tale. Is it a bad idea for me to attempt to speak about something that we can't possibly change? What can I do to just move on from it?